Next Sunday, June the 2nd, I and many other Christian leaders across the country are asking you to take a moment during that day to pray for President Donald Trump.
So earlier this week, the esteemed Franklin Graham, political hack just using his father's branded platform to advance Trump-specific propaganda, who is famous for taking over what his father spent a lifetime building, shown here next to the eternally melting snowflake, has called for this Sunday, the 2nd of June, in the year of our Lord 2019, to be a day of prayer for the unpopular president to defeat his enemies.
If his enemies are allowed to destroy him and pull down the presidency, it will hurt our entire nation.
And he claims that Trump is...
I don't believe any president in history of this nation has been attacked more than Donald Trump.
This has, as intended, widened the divide between the two political parties. While the head-in-the-sand right-wing conservative Christians, who still believe that the Mueller report exonerated the president, has bought in, literally, says right there in his Twitter bio, to these complete falsehoods that include alienating even those of their own religion down a political divide. There are new reports that show 65% of Democrats identify as religious. Of course, if you don't live in a Laura Ingraham hate bubble...
Just the fact that we were talking about faith upsets a certain congresswoman.
Where the only religion is of the conservative Christian abortion-hating, gun-toting, racist, misogynistic, wrap yourself in a flag, as long as it's a Confederate one, delusional sense of patriotism, you might recognize that other religions exist and are also protected by the Constitution. For instance, in 1822, then former President James Madison wrote to Edward Livingston, "Religion and government will both exist in greater purity the less they are mixed together." This was the general consensus of those who crafted our government, and without that principle early on, America could very well have been sucked into many different conflicts, any of which could have easily smothered our infant government. Flash forward to today and you see these right-wing xenophobes shooting up synagogues and mosques around the world, all the while being spurred on by comments like this.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
So today, as a day of prayer is called on by the religious right-wing conservatives that have failed to condemn these violent acts, I call on the currently religiously free in this country, whether Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Catholic, Buddhist, Hindu, or Unitarian, on the left, to also send up their prayers. But for me, I'll be praying that my God guide these zealots away from their fears and hatred, and stay their powerful hands from their worst impulses in order to prevent the mass suffering they could cause. I will give thanks for the blessings in my life and ask that all of us be led away from temptation and to choose the much more narrow road by creating peace and kindness within our country, and that we be united against injustice and behind those who seek it. I pray that the power of God move through this land and reveal the face of charity and kindness once again. And I pray that this nation is once again blessed and thought of as powerful, not because of our military might, but because of our humanitarian spirit and our ability to stay the hand of that power. I hope you do join me in these hopes for our country, whether or not you identify as religious, and seek to reinstate the wall between religion and government in order to preserve the security of the whole world. I'm Justin Anderson, co-host of What Would Jesus Pod, member of CDA. Be sure to check us out and join us in our prayer for resistance.